Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Everyday English with Natasha, the podcast where we make learning English fun, real, and super practical. I'm your host and English teacher, Natasha, and I'm so excited to have you with me today. Whether you're listening while walking, doing chores, or relaxing with a cup of tea, thank you for taking time to learn and grow your English skills. I promise to make it worth your while. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your phone, seen an unknown number, and thought, oh no, I hope they don't speak English? Or maybe you've needed to call a restaurant or office, but you avoided it because you were worried your English wasn't good enough? If this sounds familiar, don't worry. You are absolutely not alone. In fact, many of my students, even the advanced ones, tell me that making a phone call in English feels harder than having a face-to-face conversation. And that makes sense, right? Let's think about it. On the phone, you don't have facial expressions. You can't point or smile to help explain your meaning. There's no body language, no hand gestures, no reading the room. It's just your voice and the other person's voice. That can feel a little scary, especially when the person speaks quickly or has a different accent. And to make things worse, sometimes the phone connection is bad. There's background noise, or someone talks too quietly. Yep, it's like a mini English test with no warning. But guess what? This is exactly why phone conversations are such powerful practice tools. They push you to improve your listening skills, your pronunciation, and your ability to stay calm and focused in real situations. And that's what we're all about here. Real English for real life. In this episode, we are going to dive deep into how to handle phone calls in English. I'll walk you through everything from how to start a call to how to end it, what phrases to use, how to sound polite and confident, and even how to deal with mistakes. And yes, we'll do some fun roleplay examples too. By the end of this episode, you'll feel ready to pick up the phone and speak English without fear. Now, I know that everyone learns differently, so I want to be honest and say this. You don't have to memorize everything we talk about today. Instead, focus on listening to the patterns. Listen for how the conversations flow. Listen for the tone. How do we sound polite? Where do we pause? How do we confirm information? These are the little things that make your English sound more natural and less robotic. So even if you only remember 2 or 3 phrases from today's episode, that's still amazing progress. Also, if you're somewhere quiet and able to speak, feel free to repeat after me during the episode. Repeat the phrases. Copy my tone. Practice saying the examples out loud. Speaking out loud, even if you're talking to your wall or your cat, is one of the fastest ways to improve your fluency. And if you feel a bit shy, that's okay too. Just listening and imagining yourself in the conversation is also a great step forward. Now, before we get started with the actual conversation tips, I want to share a quick story. One of my students, her name is Sarah. She's from Turkey, told me that she used to panic every time she had to call her company's office in the UK. Even though she could write great emails in English, phone calls were terrifying for her. So we practiced some basic call openings, some polite expressions, and how to ask someone to repeat. After just 1 week of practice, she told me, Natasha, I called the London office today, and I didn't die. Isn't that great? So here's my promise to you. If you stick with me today, and you take just 10 to 15 minutes to review or repeat this lesson after we finish, you will be able to make a basic phone call in English without fear. And once you've done it once, guess what? It gets easier every time. Now let me tell you how we'll structure this episode. We're going to break it down into 5 clear and simple segments, so you can follow along step by step. In segment 2, we'll talk about why phone English is important and the specific skills it helps you develop. In segment 3, I'll teach you the most useful and polite phrases for starting, continuing, and ending a phone call in English. Then, in segment 4, we'll have a fun and realistic role-play conversation. I'll be both the caller and the receiver. Yes, I'll do too. Voices, don't judge me. Finally, in segment 5, we'll wrap everything up with a quick recap. And I'll give you a mini homework challenge that will help you practice and build your confidence. Sound good? Great. So just relax, listen, and don't pressure yourself to be perfect. Language learning is not about perfection. It's about connection. And every small step you take brings you closer to speaking English fluently and naturally. All right, let's dive into segment 2. And this one is all about the why. Why should we focus on phone calls in English? Why is this a big deal when there are so many other ways to communicate? Texting, emailing, video chatting, the truth. Many English learners avoid phone conversations because they feel awkward or afraid of making mistakes. And I totally understand that feeling. But here's something you may not have thought about. Learning to handle phone calls in English is not just about survival in the workplace or during travel. It's actually one of the most practical and confidence-building skills you can develop. Let's start with something simple. In a phone conversation, all you have is your voice. There are no facial expressions to help, no body language, and no eye contact. You can't smile to show you're being friendly. You can't use hand gestures to explain something. It's just your words and your tone. And that's exactly why practicing phone English makes your overall speaking skills stronger. You're training your brain to focus more on the language itself. That means you become better at choosing the right words, pronouncing them clearly, and listening carefully. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a face-to-face conversation in English, and when you didn't understand a word, you just smiled and nodded? Yep, we've all done it. But guess what? On the phone, that doesn't work. If you don't understand something, you have to say something like, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" Or "I didn't catch that." And that's actually a great thing. Why? Because it teaches you to ask for clarification, which is a very important communication skill in any language. And once you get used to doing that, you'll find it's easier in other situations too. Meetings, job interviews, casual chats, and so on. Let's also look at the kinds of situations where phone calls are still very common, even in our digital world. You might need to call a doctor's office to schedule an appointment. You might want to book a table at a restaurant. You might call a customer service center to fix a problem with your internet. Maybe you're applying for a job, and the first round is a phone interview. Or maybe you're traveling and you need to call your hotel to ask a question. These are everyday situations, and being able to speak clearly and confidently on the phone can make your life so much easier. Now, one of the main benefits of practicing phone English is that it improves your listening comprehension. On a phone call, you really have to focus. You can't look at the person's lips. You can't rely on reading their expressions. You only hear their voice, and sometimes their accent is different from yours. That's okay. That's normal. In fact, this is one of the most powerful ways to improve your ability to understand different English accents and tones. You'll learn how to catch the important words, how to ask for repetition, and how to stay calm even when you don't understand every single word. Remember, you don't need to understand 100% of a conversation to communicate successfully. Just focus on the main idea. And let's not forget the emotional side of this. Making a phone call in a second language, especially your first one, takes real courage. But when you do it, and it goes well, it gives you this amazing boost of confidence. You realize, hey, I can do this. That feeling is powerful. It motivates you to keep going, to try new things, and to take your English to the next level. I've had students tell me that after successfully making one short phone call, they suddenly felt braver in other areas, joining meetings, talking to foreigners, even traveling alone. It's like unlocking a new level of independence and freedom. You might be wondering, but Natasha, isn't phone English really formal? Actually, it depends. Of course. When you're calling a company or a business, it's good to use polite, professional language. But not all phone calls are formal. Sometimes you're calling a friend, your cousin, your roommate, or even someone to ask for directions. That's why, in this podcast, we'll explore both formal and informal styles, so you feel ready for any situation. Here's another thing I love about phone English practice. It can be done anywhere. You don't need a classroom. You don't need special materials. You can practice a phone script by yourself at home, out loud. You can record your voice, listen back, and try again. Or you can practice with a friend by taking turns role-playing. Maybe today you're the customer, calling a restaurant, and tomorrow you're the receptionist taking the call. You get to see both sides of the conversation, and that makes learning much more complete. One final reason why practicing phone calls is so useful, it teaches you how to be polite, clear, and efficient with your words. In real life, people don't want to stay on the phone forever. You need to get to the point, be respectful, and finish the conversation smoothly. So when you practice these calls, you're also learning how to communicate more effectively, which is a skill that's valuable in every part of life. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Everyday English with Natasha. I want to say a big thank you for spending this time with me and for taking an important step to improve your English phone skills. Remember, making phone calls in English may feel challenging at first, and that's totally normal. But every call you make, every phrase you practice, brings you closer to confidence and fluency. We covered a lot today. Why phone call English is so important, key polite phrases you can use, and how to sound natural and friendly on the phone. The secret is simple: practice, patience, and kindness to yourself. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. So here's my challenge for you before our next episode. Try making a short phone call in English this week. It could be as simple as calling a shop to ask about their hours or booking a table at a restaurant. Use the phrases you learned today. Speak slowly. And don't forget to smile. Even though they can't see you, your voice will sound friendlier. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends who are learning English too. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to help me bring more useful lessons to you. I'm Natasha, wishing you all the best with your English practice. Keep speaking, keep growing, and I can't wait to hear about your progress. Until next time, happy calling and take care.